Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for including your work here. I'm just going through your writing here, and let's see what we have. So your son, the beach ball, and some landscape in front of your house. Rebecca, let's look at the image. The sun and ball mass. Added the layers background. Use brightness, contrast, and all three layers. I also use hue saturation to the ball and the person layer. I'm not 100% happy with the outcome yet. I don't feel like the ball in person 100%. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Thoughts on advice? So yes, of course. Most of the photos are. All right. The tools we're using all this help me make a better making posters and ads. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Good writing. Thank you very much for sharing that. Let's go ahead and jump right over to the composition. Okay, so first thing we notice is, don't forget this is supposed to be formatted at 8 by 10. So let's go ahead and see. Let me just go ahead and preview that. I'm going to open that in a new window. This will just take a second. Sorry, I should have had this up before. And of course, now my computer is going to take a minute here. Of course, right? Okay, come on, little computer. Okay, so we go to week 2. We go to exercise, person, place, and thing. Let's go open that guy up. And okay, so we have ba, 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 ba. Okay, hang on a sec while I find exactly what I'm looking for. Hang on one second. This is what I'm getting at here is 8 by 10 at 300 ppi. So don't forget this needs to be compiled at 8 by 10 at 300 ppi. So the reason I mentioned that is because this isn't 8 by 10, obviously, right? Now in design, it's always the width first. I don't know if you knew that, but it's width always comes first. So if there's a assignment that says 16 by 20, that means that the width is 16, the height is 20. So width always comes first. So anyways, we need to format this at 8 by 10, right? So another thing I want to talk about is resolution, and I think that might be one of the issues that we're having here as far as your feel that they just don't belong together. The most obvious thing is the shadows, right? We can see shadows by the bushes, but we don't see shadows by the boy or by the ball. So adding cast shadows here will probably definitely add a little bit of visual interest here. And to add cast shadows, just do a quick Google search on how to add cast shadows in Photoshop. It entails duplicating this layer, turning it black, and skewing it down here to match the light source and the angle of the shadow. It's a really easy process, and go ahead, as I said, just go ahead and do a web search on creating cast shadows in Photoshop. Really super easy technique. So I would add a shadow for the boy and the ball. Next thing, I'm going to just zoom in here a little bit because I want you to see something. Now, if we zoom into this level here, we can clearly see that there's a higher quality associated with this, with the boy and the ball, than there are with the background image. We can see all these little squares and all these little, it's called pixelization, and that's indicative of low quality, low resolution image. We see a little bit of pixelization in the boy, but we're always going to see pixelization as we zoom in, since raster images are created using pixels. However, you don't want it to be overly dramatic, or I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong word. You don't want it to be overly obvious, as we see here. Take a look at the video, at the announcement. It's the most recent announcement. It's called, can I change a 300 pp? Can I change a 72 ppi image to 300? And within that image, there are some examples of compression artifact and pixelization. So take a look at those. And again, this points to this is likely a low resolution, low quality image for the background. You may consider changing that for your final submission. As far as that, I mean, to me, I think that's really the only thing that is really problematic, are the shadows and the quality of the background image. Otherwise, I think it's good. It's telling a nice little story. The little boy's kind of forlorn. He's just kind of looking in the camera, and he's playing with the ball. And I recognize this look because my kids were, I'm not saying your son is a loner, but my kids were loners. They did this quite a bit. I remember all the time, it's like, there's two of you. Why don't you play together? One would be playing in this end of the yard alone. The other would be playing in this end of the yard alone. So it would kind of remind, they're still like that today, and they're both over 30. So to me, this kind of reminds me a little bit of that, at the composition, and the narrative kind of reminds me of that kind of isolated playtime, so to speak. So I think the narrative quality is excellent. Another really outstanding choice that you have made is the preservation of the light source. The light source, of course, is dictated by the background image, right? So if you're going to replace the background image, consider light source. It's one of the main considerations in all of Photoshop composite work. So you've got the light source here. Now the light source on the boy is over here somewhere, above this guy, up here, as we can see at the way that that light highlight is behaving on the back of his leg, the back of his shirt. That's indicating a light source of up here somewhere, right? And that light source is also indicated here by this shadow here, indicating a light source up here somewhere. So there's no conflicting light sources there in either of the three images, so that's outstanding. Okay, in summary, again, I recommend trying to add a drop shadow. You know what, I just noticed something. I want to zoom in here a little bit. Okay, it looks like you've kind of added some grass to the front of his shoes. That's a great technique. Outstanding job. Good selection techniques on the ball and the boy. So no problems there. That's good. That's good stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit? Tell us how you did that? Okay, so again, my recommendation is to try to add some cast shadows. Actually, what I should say is go ahead and see if you can find a better quality background image so we don't have this really super obvious differences in the visual stature of the foreground images and the background image. At that point, yeah, you definitely want to match resolutions and try that drop shadow, the cast shadow. It's not a drop shadow, it's called a cast shadow. So try that technique as well, okay? I'd like to see those changes being made in your final submission. So go ahead and let me know if you have any questions or if you need any comments or if you need any comments to be clarified. I'll be glad to do that. So, all right, great start. Thank you very much. And again, I'm right here if you have any questions. Thank you very much.